What up, y'all? This is Scottie D from Faygoluvers.net, and I have with me a very special guest, the one and only Blaze, your dead homie. What up, Blaze?
What up, though? How you doing, Scotty?
Man, I can't complain. Well, I can a lot about this pandemic and shit, but you know, I miss live shows.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's got.
Yeah, I'm sure you miss live shows too. But yeah.
Come on, man. It's crazy. I know live shows are just some, it's a whole different thing. I know everybody's missing you, everybody out there listening, me included, man. I hate being cooped up because that's exactly what you are. You're like cooped up and you feel like you're just stuck in a place. And I've been here a majority of time. Seems like even without having anything to do with, quarantine, like I haven't been really quarantined for any reason because I had no COVID in my area really. And, I got checked because we were in contact with somebody that was close to it. But I feel like I've been quarantined anyway, because there's nothing I've been doing. Like I'm stuck in this place and there's not much to do around me. And like I was telling you earlier, the weather is horrible. So I'm really just like, you're sitting here trying to think of things to do. And it's almost brings you back to them days when you were younger. And you're like, man, you're stuck in the house and your parents are like, get outside and go do something. And you're trying to think of things to do outside, like, but it's cold as shit. Well, still, I guess I can go out there and I don't know, try to fix the mailbox or something, like just some stupid shit. Because my mailbox is like true shit. It gets knocked down. I moved out here years ago, and I think since I've been here, my mailbox is knocked down every single year by like the actual people, the salt trucks. They come through here and they just zoom past and they're kicking the snow off, and the snow will kick the mailbox right over and kick it off. So like this year, I finally did it. I purchased a new mailbox and I put this thing in and I staked it down on the ground. And wouldn't you know, sure enough, same thing happened. Brought this motherfucker down. So then I got wise because I had an old a post that was in there, and I was like, let me just connect post to post. And this is what I did. And so far, so good. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I'm telling you, crazy shit that starts going through your mind. You're sitting cooped up. You're like, damn it, I guess I could try to fix that. Yeah.
Well, the next step is a brick mailbox, I guess, right?
I was thinking of putting bricks around said mailbox because, right. I've seen it down the street. People have it, but I don't want to half-ass it. I don't want to go out there and just start tossing cinder blocks around this thing. You got to have some real mortar and some shit done. It's like, you got to watch a couple of YouTube videos before you go tackling a project like that.
For sure.
For real.
Well, Blaze, you've had a long and storied career spanning all the way back to the early 90s, even before you and Skrapz linked up.
Yeah.
You've consistently put out albums from all the way from then all the way through last year's Cadaver. The Juggalo classic One Less G in the Hood actually dropped 20 years ago this year. What does that feel like for you, man?
20, man, it's crazy. It feels like yesterday. Like in some aspects, sometimes it feels like yesterday. Sometimes it feels like a long ass time ago. Like it really is, because that's what it is. Like 20 years it almost seems like forever ago. And I remember sitting back on a bus with, like, I remember I was out there with I told this story before. Like I've been out there with I was the first time I was out actually on tour with ICP. I mean, there were plenty of times I was out there with Twisted and we were doing shows, and we went out and did a tour together. Like I think it was Hatchet Rising. Yeah. And we did the tour together. But this is the first time I went out solo, me and Killa, and we did Bazaar, I believe it was. Yeah. And we were out there for, I think, leg 2. And we went out there, and I said my album was done, and it was in, it was in the can, and it was ready to be done. And I left everything there for Twisted to mix, and they were mixing the record, and the phone call came in, and that's where this happened. But I remember sitting out there distinctly sometime on that tour, and just with Jay, and he had me and Killa on the bus, and he was like, where do you see yourself in like 20, 30 years? And, and I remember looking at him, and I was just like, comfortably doing what I love, like music and shit. you know, and I was just like, just comfortably doing music and doing what I love and shit, just keep, you know, doing this and being able to do this. And, you know, you know, would I ever thought that this was what it would be like 20 years later? I'm still doing music. It's like, I'm doing what I love.
Incredible.
Like, hell no, man. I really was like, whoa, you know, because nobody, and not many people get a chance to get out there and actually do it for, you know, 5 years or like, you know, 10 years. Like, damn, man, this is some crazy shit. But yeah, I feel blessed to be able to continue to do this. And, you know what I mean? And it started way back when. And like I said, just rapping in the parking lots of Myers, I think it was, when I met Skrapz at work. We were both working together. That was like the first paper job I think I ever held on paper as a kid. It was like, oh, I was at Myers and I met Skrapz there, and me and him we were working together. And I remember just rapping in the parking lot and him coming up and being like, damn, man, you ever thought about doing this? And, you know, who would have thought then, you know, it was like, damn, you know, yeah, I mean, I really love doing this, but I don't, you know, I don't know if I have what it takes. Yeah.
Well,
So it's crazy as hell, man, for real.
So to commemorate the 20-year anniversary, you're going to be performing the entire album on February 5th, right?
It's pretty much the entire album. There are some things that might be changed and mixed and changed in there, but there are some new things that I want everybody to also see. And yeah, so I've tried to hook people up with some flavor because not everything made it. But yeah, there's some very cool shit in there.
Okay, well, I was going to get into maybe some lineup changes and stuff later on in the interview, but so we'll cover that here shortly. But I wanted to go back to the high school days when you and Skrapz did start rapping together.
Yeah.
Did you, before the two Krazy Devils era, I guess you'd call it, do you have any recordings from back even before then?
No.
No,
nothing like that. Like, we straight up, I remember I was just, like I said, I'd never put anything on wax before. When me and Chuck, and Chuck is just a real, me and Skrapz met, he straight, yeah, he didn't, we were both so green. We were greener than your shirt and your hat and my shirt put together. And like, our first thing was when we started talking, and we talked about what we wanted to do. We mapped it out. And we actually went to like Denny's. It seemed like every night we started at like a Denny's at, you know, because there were 24 hours. And we were big time smokers, both of us cigarette smokers, like forever. And I think we were, you know, just chiefing on cigarettes and writing music at the Denny's booth. And he was drinking coffee, but I wasn't a coffee drinker. So we'd just sit there and smoke cigarettes and drink pop or something. Yeah. And we would chill out at Denny's for hours writing. And that was what we did. And then we started like, he had artistic ability with drawing and shit. Like, I wasn't into that at all. I would do my stuff, you know, doodles and things, but nothing like what he was on the end of. And he put together, like, I think we put together flyers together. We went, you know, because everything we did was together. We ride out there and we went together and we put the flyers together. And it was basically, yeah, it was two Krazy Devils talking about who we were and what we were going to be and what the album was, and Wicked One rhymes, and you got to check us out. And yeah. And we put these flyers out in the stores before we even stepped in a studio before. Like, we never stepped in a studio yet. And we were like, oh, check out our record. We're the next thing. And yeah, it was wild as hell.
Promote it, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Went directly to promoting, you know, right into the record stores and dropping flyers off every record store that you could get. Like, they were all consignment back in the day. Harmony House was like one of the ones we couldn't, but we would still get our flyers in there. So we would try to, you know, we would go to everywhere you could go to. It's like the Disc and Rock of Ages, as far as hell at the time. It was like that could have been in China. And at the time when we were kids, you know, we didn't know shit. We're like, oh shit, man, you got to drive anything that took you an hour or half an hour longer than normal to get to, and you had to drive and put more than, you know, $10 in gas to get to, was like forever away in our heads. We just didn't know shit, you know. So we would try to stick to the side where we were at, like 23 mile, and we'd be on 15 mile and grass shit. Then we'd down at 8 and 7 and a 9 mile and hot hits and record time and just, yeah, everywhere around there. And then we try to branch out to like Woodward was the farthest we went, because we would go down you know, down to the other record times too down there. And other than that, you know what I mean? Until we linked up with Twisted, then it was like, oh, now we're gonna start riding out to like Garden City, and we'll make it like a day trip. And that's what it was. It was kind of like a day trip. We'd all be riding out there together in a big, you know, in a ride together, and just be rolling out there, like me and ROC and Madrox and Monoxide and Skrapz, and yeah, just rolling.
Okay.
Or sometimes it'd be a whole different crew, but it was all of us riding out to these, you know, various places.
Well, you went through a bunch of groups and iterations before finally settling on Blaze. So can you take us through the ones that you were, and what didn't, and why they didn't stick? Like, I know you were Psycho C, I believe.
I mean, yeah, we kind of like started out, that's what it was. We started out as like Psycho C, and it was like, and Krazy was our original names. It was that was, you know, it was like a play on, obviously my name was Chris, so it was like, oh, Psycho C. And you know, in the hood, obviously you had Violent J, so it was like a perpetration on that area. And I think when we started recording the record, we kind of just, I think we went through it, and we were very, like I said, we were green and young, so we didn't know much. So as we started continuing to do music, we started knowing what we liked and what we didn't like, and what we thought people liked and they didn't like. So we started to record, and I think we probably had about 10 or 11 tracks, maybe 12 tracks done before we were just looking at it, listening to it, and we didn't like it. It was like, man, everything it got old fast. So it was, you know, it was your first stuff. So we basically kind of just trashed it at that. It was probably, we probably did this within maybe 3 months. And we already, you know, within the next 2 months, we had started a new name, and we actually had a show coming up, and we wanted to have new material for that. So that's what we did. We hit the studio again, and we put together like 4 or 5, 6 more tracks. And we were doing Sleepwalkers at the time, and it was like, all right, I'm going to try to change this all up. My name, I changed it to Sandman, and he changed his to Skrapz, I believe, at the time. I don't know if it's, no, maybe, he might have stayed at Krazy, something weird. It was whatever it was. It was because I know he changed his name again after that, when he started you know, he continued on and doing the other stuff with the ROC, you know, later on. But yeah, it was basically, so we did maybe 5, 6 tracks for this Sleepwalkers project. We took pictures of it. It was toned down. It was less of the you know, the theatrical stuff. It was more just me and him in pictures, and you know, in my neighborhood in Mount Clemens. And it was just like, now this is what we're doing. And then we took a few pictures out near the city, near the old train building and shit out there, and the train tracks and shit. And yeah, it was just it was a different type of take on it. And it was more kind of hip hop. Some of the songs, like a few of the tracks made it out there, and a lot of the stuff did. A lot of that stuff that was just like, was basically our B-sides, or stuff that I had given to somebody to listen to, as you know, or he had given to somebody to listen to, made it out there. So you hear a lot of some of the worst cuts out of the stuff that's out there. So the things that actually made it out there that people hear is even worse than what we, you know, our finished project or would have been, you know what I mean? So it's even more just, you know, it's kind of like irritating, like,
well, listening to
when you hear it now, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible shit. But yeah, a few of the songs never made it. Sleepwalker songs. Like, I know there's a couple songs out there. I know Gangbangers Anthem has made it out there. And that song has made it out there. And I've heard a few tracks haven't, you know what I mean? Like, I know we did a weed song together, and It's About That Time is what the song's called. And that never made it out there. And then me and him made another like a bitch track together, and it was called damn bitch, I don't want to be friends.
Okay.
Bitch, I don't want to be friends. I don't want to be friends with you. Bitch, I don't want to be friends. Yeah, it was some different type of shit that me and him were doing at the time, that we changed it completely up from what it is. But the coolest songs that it's out there, that made it out there, is mixed very shittily. But I just remember the shit starts with it starts with Chuck or Skrapz. Just them motherfuckers don't know who they fucking with, the lyrical donation. Yeah, it's one of the coolest songs that we did. I think is out there. And yeah, it's just, that's where we started to, drift away from what we were listening to at first and started to change into what we were growing into. You know what I mean? So yeah, and at the time, like I said, I think we just drifted away as like partners because we had different ideas of what we wanted to do musically. I think for real, like
Yeah.
he wanted to do something this way, and I was looking to do something a different way. And what I was doing was delving back into more wicked shit, and he was kind of straying away from that, and that's kind of what it was. You know what I mean? And and we never really like, we didn't get into a fight and it was like fuck you type shit. It was just kind of like, he's moved on and started doing stuff, and he was doing stuff with House of Crazies or HOK, and I was already moved on and doing new stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, I continued on, and I was like, oh, I was linked up with Twisted at that point, and we were already starting to do new stuff like ISI. And that's where the name change came from there. It was like, well, if I'm going to do this new stuff and I want to be something different, I want people to see me as a different person. This is kind of what they never heard me before again. So it's to hear me for the first time, because at that point, I've never released anything. Nothing came out. Like, it was all just me, doing shit at home or with ROC at his crib, or, wherever we had the studio set up. Sometimes it would be at Chuck's house. Sometimes it was in my basement. Sometimes it was at ROC's, And then once in a while we went and did a couple of cuts where we were at somebody else's house that had a reel to reel. So, we did cuts all over the place, but none of them we're like, we actually put and sent in the disc makers and we're like, let's make a CD or a cassette. Never, not one time, Scotty. So anything that was out there to me was like just trash. And the shit that I am now is whatever I put out now as Blaze. And then, so when we started talking to them, I already had the name. I had the name Blaze was my name, but I was fully on this Blaze, the Butane Magician, because I had an instinct that I was going to be talking about fire. And I was like, and obviously I smoke weed. So I was like, I was going to try to twist on that. And I was like, to be so blatantly crazy, I was like, man, who the fuck is talking about butane? So it was just going to be some, I was in my comic shit at the time and really thought it was cool. And like I said, when I went to Psychopathic, that was the only involvement that I think Jay did at the time. And he was like, hey, I think, Blaze is the shit, but I think, why don't you try like Dead Homie or something? Like, what if you were a dead guy? And I was like, wow, and bang, and fireworks went off and shit let off. It's like, holy shit, yeah, that's fucking next level. So, at that point, I never fucking said I was Blaze the Butane Magician in any song yet either. I did a song with Twisted, 2 songs with him. I think I did What the Fuck, and we did an intro, and we had another song that we did. I think it was Somebody Dissing You. Okay. And them 3 songs were done. And when they took those to actually go sign and, to have dinner with Psychopathic, they took that stuff, the material there, and it was Infamous Superstars Incorporated at the time. And Twisted went to meet them because, in all actuality and all honesty, they had met them before and had actual, had a meeting, and they talked, and whatever it is, they were I don't know, acquaintances at the time, friends
for ICP
they were out there with them, and it was actually a ROC, I think, that first was out there doing ROC stuff, and it wasn't House of Crazies, but ROC of course brought Mad Drox Monoxide as House of Crazies out there with him. So that's who we had on the road with him as his people, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's like at the time it seemed they linked up well with Joe and Joey and everybody at Psychopathic. So they hit it off well with them. And I don't know why whatever went with them. That's, ROC's and Twisted story to tell on that. I don't have no fucking business telling that. But I know that they already knew them from that. So when they took the music, we started doing stuff together at the disc, and we already had an idea of what we wanted to do with it. We're like, all right, well, let's take it down there and talk to them. It's, they already had mentioned to them, Joe had mentioned them, anytime you guys want to do something, let us know. And they went and had dinner. I wasn't at said dinner, But I was told at the time, like, this is basically what it is. Like, we know who you guys are. We'll definitely work with you guys. Bring your dude along, and maybe later on we'll work with him too. And that's kind of what it was. So I was in there as like a handshake at one point. Maybe I'll get my turn, and you know what I mean? And I rode along at that point. It was like, all right, everything to me was psychopathic at that, as soon as that
Yeah,
happened.
you're touching
So
on
yeah.
you're touching on a bunch of stuff that I had questions for, but which is great. But
Oh shit, I'm killing it all. All right.
yeah, so I had a note about Blaze the Magician, but I actually didn't know about the butane part of it. So that's
Yeah.
so
Yeah, no, that's basically that was it, man, for real.
so you would
Wow.
going back. So how did that Flipped Insanity record? How did it actually, I guess, leak if you did never officially release it?
I think it was just people that I knew at the time that didn't like seeing me doing much, coming up and doing things, They were like, hey, how can we hit? It would be a good way to try to hit him where it hurts. And really, in all honesty, I didn't give a shit. It was just stupid because in the end, it was like there were things on there that were said that were like direct disses to what would have been ICP disses or disses to people on the label, and it was just not cool. So that's why it was like trying to hurt me. But in all honesty, I already talked to them about those and told them exactly what I had and what was there before, and so they already knew everything that was out there. They were like, yeah, so if it comes back out there, they already know what's out there. It was like, it's just some bullshit. I was a kid and we thought that, what I mean, that was the way to do it at the time, was, what I
Yeah,
mean, to
just
diss
people
the
being
hardest person in there. Cause I mean, you start rap battles. We didn't know any better, and we didn't really. So, like I told you, so in my opinion, none of that stuff was ever going to come out. So, what I mean, it was like, because in all honesty, I could tell you the truth, Scotty, and be like, I went back in the studio and changed these lyrics, but I don't have that material to show you, because the moment that I started doing Blaze and everything else, all that shit I threw away and got rid of. It was like it was a chapter of my life that I kind of threw in the past and was like, yeah, I ain't really worried about this shit no more. It's like, it's two Krazy Devils. Who the fuck is that? So yeah, it was like, I think 100% it was just somebody that either wanted to see, what people would say if they heard, or people that wanted to talk shit. And, what I mean? It's kind of what it was.
Well, you talked to 24/7 Hip Hop a few days ago, or at least they released the video a few days ago.
Yeah.
You had mentioned that when you and Skrapz went to record with ROC at his place, that he pulled you aside and just said, like, dude, you're onto something. You got a great voice. Keep it up. How much of
Yeah.
an ego boost was that, like, for you to continue making music?
I mean, that was 100%. That was the shit at the time. I mean, because I looked up to these guys, like everybody that I was around. I told you I was greener than your shirt, man. So it was very much like, when I heard that, because I mean, I was struggling at the time to, if I to find how my voice would sound on these things, because it was tough to me. It was like, I knew I liked to sing when I was growing up, and I knew I could do that. And I was like, I didn't know if this was the same thing, and if I could do it, if it was the same type of shit. So, what I mean? Because coming from, growing up doing choir and weird shit like that, this is a whole different level of the game. So when we started doing it, it was just me and him talking at Denny's, and it was him hearing me rapping other people's shit in the parking lot. Whatever's hot at the time was the hottest shit. I'm out there fucking spitting in the parking lot. He's like, damn, dude, you can do that. Like, you're killing this. It's like, but this ain't my music. This is somebody else's shit. Like, you. So, to me, it was like, whoa, this is crazy. But like I said, yeah, it was just cool, because that was, I looked up to them dudes. I see, I already had music inside the store. They had their own shit going on. They had their own record label. They were bringing us into, what I mean? He called and told, I mean, I met these dudes, and like I said, it was all on, it was one of them Dr. Fate things, because like I said, when I first met them, I was passing out flyers for that same record that I didn't have any music fucking recorded for yet. The same exact flyer with two kids that looked like two fucking white kids with, you know, shaved things in their eyebrows on either side, hats turned sideways, you know, like fucking trying to look thugged out. And it was a you know, drawing that Skrapz had drew on, you know, two different guys, and one was me and one was him. And it's like, oh shit, that was the first one. And then the other one came out, Sleepwalkers, and it was all crazy with some demons on it. It was like we were trying to, you know, we were trying something different. But like I said, we still didn't have any music. We had music done, but nothing that was like out there. So yeah, it was like at the time, it was he was the first person out there. It's like, man, nothing, you know, you got the voice to do this. Like, you really have a distinct rap voice. Like, don't stop it, keep moving. And yeah, and it was like, yeah, 100%. That was one of them things. It was like, man, you know, thank you, and I'm gonna keep working, you know, for real.
So I know you said that after kind of starting to talk to Psychopathic, you would thrown away all of your old stuff. Well, in the uh, while I was researching for this interview, I went back and listened to the leaked Two Krazy Devils album, and on a track called "The Cellar," you have a lyric that actually says, "I hear a noise, someone's crying my name. How should I react? I'm just going insane." I don't know if you remember recording that, but was that just kind of in the back of your mind while you were recording Casket, or like is that
No,
just
I straight up, I went back and I reworked a lot of that song for Casket, because it sounded so much like it to me. And when we were writing that song, me and him took that directly from the fucking movie, fucking Evil Dead 2. We were watching the shit out of that movie, and a lot of that stuff was from there. We're gonna get you. We took the sample straight from the "We're gonna get you."
Yep.
Not another beat. Gotta go. It was like we took a lot of that stuff, and that's where a lot of our stuff came from. That was one of the first like horror movies that was, you know, completely just, you know, fuck me up, punch me in the head, and was like, holy shit. So we did that. We did Deathbed. We did a lot of songs on our Two Krazy Devils shit that was like directly from that movie. And yeah, when I went back, I reworked that whole song into Casket, like half of most of the song into it.
Yeah, so it had like the same cadence as the original song, but I mean, obviously it was far more polished than the Cellar was. So
yeah, no, I mean, like I said, there's different stuff. So even with that, I think, you know, I like that song. I like that song in its own right too, because I can listen to that song and still be like, wow, that's different. You know what I mean? Because it's slow. The beat's very slow too. And I think we used something, I forget what the fuck beat we used. It was boom, 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 boom. I know what it is. It's I think it's the boom, boom, boom. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So between that Flipped Insanity record and I guess your first appearance on Psychopathic was allegedly Dumpin. Is that correct?
It's either that or was it on a Twisted record?
On one of those. It's either Reissue, Most Tasteless on Hound Dogs, or Dumpin.
Yeah, it's one of those two. I'm not sure.
Right. So there's there's like a 3-year span, almost 4, I guess, between those releases. What was happening with you musically between in those 3 or 4 years?
I was working in the background, man, pushing for everybody else's stuff. And I like, genuinely, like I said, I think I was working there, and I was on probation for some of the period of time. So it forced me to miss stuff, like miss being in the movie the first time, because I was on probation for some shit, and I couldn't leave the state. So like I said, I think when it first started happening, clicking for me was, you know, I hung out with them somewhere in, I think it was either 90 or 99 or 98, somewhere around there, like New Year's, I think, was the first time I hung out with you know, Jay and Shags, and a couple of the fellas like that. And you know, I think a few, whoever else was with the crew at the time, I'm sure Chucky and a few other guys were there. And, you know, it was a bunch of people. So I hung out with them and Twisted. So that's where we hung out on New Year's or something like that. And then it was probably a little bit into that. Like I said, I think I said it in my record, like my first the trial was kind of like Riders or Dumpin. You know, you had to like, prove that this is what, you know, you can hold it with everybody here and doing what you're doing. And that's kind of, so that's where it started for me with that. But I think I recorded that song, that Twisted song first. If
Hound Dogs.
yeah, I believe Hound Dogs was first, but they had already heard me on, you know, like I said, What the Fuck, and Somebody Dissing You, and they knew they had them songs there anyway, so they kind of heard what I was doing. But like I said, I think it was more like a trial to be able to see if you were, you know, you could click with everybody and be cool with the crew and all the extra shit with it, you know, because I was probably, I think I was, man, it was very quick to where they were like, hey, we don't want you working like a 9 to 5 no more. We want you to come up to the office and work up here. You know, it's like, even when I was already on probation, all this shit, or when I was getting into this shit, they were like, yeah, we want you up here away from, you know, the other shit. So just in case, you know, you're going to have some music come out and it's going to look weird. People asking you for shit when you're working a 9 to 5. So at least if you're at Psychopathic, we can tuck you away here and we can still do things. So it was like, that was where I was already, you know, as soon as they were like, yeah, we're, you know what I mean? We'll see how you were, trial and error type shit with you. I was already there and like, all right, now I'm done fucking around at whatever 9 to 5 job I had at the time. And I was there the next day. And you know what I mean? They put me into the job working with somebody, one of the craziest ninjas there at the time, and shipping. And they kind of said that was like the job everybody had to do. And you know what I mean? And it was like, I think I had that. And you know, you had the other shit that it was like bone shit you had to do. Like, you got to go and get the orders for everybody's lunch and go pick that shit up. That was your job. You know what I mean? It's probably for the first week until, you know, they split it up to everybody. So it was kind of like, you know, it's just one of them things as you start out there.
Just paying dues.
But I was there for a while, you know what I mean? Like doing a bunch of different shit back in the backgrounds and behind the scenes, and shipping packages and building sets and building like the in-store booth, the original one that we went out in 99.
Yeah.
I helped put that together, like build a roof for that and put lights in it and some AC, you know, fucking doing some man work, man. And they're fucking, you know, using the goddamn hands and doing shit for the company. And yeah, I was a fucking straight up company, man. And everything I did was for the hatchet. And we did the shit like on the daily, every single day, 9 to 5. And it didn't matter sometimes on a weekend because you weren't really on a schedule. It's like you were on a schedule every day at there when you were there. They wanted you there from like I think we were there fucking 10 to 7 or 11 to 7, some weird shit. It was like different because they wanted to be meeting up with the West Coast times. And I feel it. It was cool. But we also were on call on the weekends. Like we might have something to do. Like we might be doing some crazy shit. Hey, we might be going and we might need you and Dougie to get in the van and roll out to Toledo and just go flyer the shit out of this fucking show. Or, you know what I mean? There's juggalos that are out hanging out at this mall, go meet up with them and give them fucking CDs. So yeah, it was all types of shit that was always going on. So yeah, it was wild, man. You had to be ready to grab your balls and go. And that's what it was, for real.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of paying dues before you finally, you know, get to that level.
I mean, that's what it was, and that's kind of what it was for everybody. I think for the most part, we all were doing different things. I was doing a lot of background shit. Like, I mean, I made it into the book, you know, into Behind the Paint as you know, Blaze sitting there paintless on one of the things, dragging Jay and everybody into this thing. So it's like, yeah, it's like I made it inside this booklet. I was so part of the thing. And like I said, I took it upon myself to be that guy, to grab him and to grab Madrox and to grab the bigger guys. Cause I'm like, you guys, it's going to look stupid. You're going to, you know, drag these little dudes around. I got to hold on to y'all and make it look like, go ahead and try to peel away. And I'm going to fucking pull y'all in here because we about to do the damn thing. Like we ain't going to make this look stupid. You know what I mean? It was real.
So I know you mentioned that you felt green on the mic until you really got linked up with Psychopathic. Did you record the Riders EP and your first EP? I think you said you recorded the first EP at another studio, not the Lotus Pod.
Yeah.
But was the Riders LP recorded at the Lotus Pod, and how did that go?
No, the Riders LP wasn't. It was recorded at different studios too to begin with. The first one. but my EP was recorded fully at the disc because it was recorded on Christmas Vacation of the year before, or whatever it was. And it was like, yeah, a lot of things were talked. Basically, it all happened because of Alex. Alex came to me and Madrox and Monoxide was like, yeah, a lot of people are fucking scrambling talking about Blaze right now. He's got a name out there. People are talking about him. Let's give him something, you know. What do you guys got for me? And that's what it was. So we went back and went on, and I think it was Christmas Vacation. I don't know, remember what year. It might have been 98 or 90, whatever it was.
99,
and,
I think, right?
Yeah, we went there, did this fucking, went on vacation, and we went to the disc almost every other day for the vacation when we were out, and finished the EP there. And I had a couple other songs that were ready too for the EP that didn't make it, that we held off. And I replaced one of those and changed, and because Shit Talkers wasn't going to be on my EP. And I was like, I wanted the one with everybody on it, the fam track. And that one ended up being the track. I took that, I think, from maybe a Twisted record. And they were like, well, we got this song we're working on. Let's do this one and we'll throw this together. So that's what it ended up doing. I think I took that from their record and we put it on the EP during that Christmas. But other than that, everything else, was recorded during that time. And we were off, and it was me and Madrox and Monoxide a lot of times, and Fritz.
Yeah. So was that your first involvement with Fritz doing the record?
For me, probably yes. But I was in there for like everything that probably Twisted ever recorded up until maybe the last, probably like Wicked, maybe around there. I think I somewhere around there, Independence Day or Wicked, I think I stopped going to the studio with them. Like I was there for everything they ever recorded up until then. I was always at the studio with them, always in the background hanging out. I would be there either for noises, for voices. You bring me in for whatever you need me, I was there. But like I said, I was always there. I was anything that was going on Psychopathic, I was in it. We were there, man. We were,
So that
fucking
EP,
chilling.
No, I feel you. And you probably learned a lot too doing that with them, I assume.
Yeah, I mean, you learn some different things. You learn a lot of different. I mean, like I said, everybody works at their own pace too, and that's kind of what you learn too as you go. Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. Like I said, I mean, when I first was there, I was still green when I first started with Psychopathic because I was the low man on the totem pole, and they. In some instances they treated me that way, and sometimes they didn't. I mean, they tried to, include me with everything too. But when it started out for Lotus type stuff, it was like, I was in there intimidated. I was trying to make sure I was rewriting my raps 2 and 3 times to make sure they were flowing the best that they could flow for a Lotus rap. So you wouldn't always hear me first on every track, because I'm going to wait, make sure I'm in there, because I'm going to make sure my shit's the dopest it can be before I get on the track. Yeah. And that's kind of what it was for me a lot on that stuff.
So that self-titled EP was released at the Gathering 2000, I believe. And that was also your first introduction to Juggalos as Blaze Dead Homie.
Mm-hmm.
When you came on stage that first time in front of, like, what was it, 5,000 or 6,000 Juggalos, what was that? I mean, I can't even imagine the difference you felt between that and the smaller shows that you'd played locally before.
It was wild as hell, because like I said, I've been to but prior to that, I probably went to maybe 1 or 2 shows, and they were always shows for our people. Like, if House of Crazies opened up for ICP, and they did at the Ritz back when it was the Ritz, and it was a show in Roseville, Michigan, and the show was fucking humongous. Like, I remember you go there and you paint up like ICP, they're throwing you like a 4-track cassette tape or some shit. So it was like you were getting free shit to paint up. It was cool fucking freebies and cool shit to go there. And I remember going there and watching HOK, and the show was sold the fuck out. It didn't matter who was on stage. So I watched it. I was like, okay, this is what you got to do. And then we went back there and played without them, and we did probably a third of their crowd there. And I was like, so it was cool. I kind of got what it was. But the thing to me that happened during this stuff that helped me a little bit was I was doing background shit for, I was out there during the Jekyll Brothers tour on stage in paint or in a costume, or doing background characters for different people, for Twisted, for ICP. You know what I mean? So I was out there on stage with them, you know, not obviously like this and not the focus of attention, but I seen what it was like to be out in front of some people and just how they did it, man. And I was in awe sometimes, but I was, you know, also watching and preparing for myself. And then, like I said, a few times I remember there was one show somewhere, I think it was in Philly, and I think we were in the IC Lights or one of the venues out there, and we were out there, and some reason the show was humongous, and it was some reason Jay called me down. He's like, "Hey, we need Blaze out on stage tonight." And I was like, "What? Word?" He was like, "Yeah, we need Blaze out on stage tonight. We're gonna fucking do it." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So he's like, "Paint up," and I'm like, "Paint up? Like I ain't never painted up before in my life. So you know, like, what am I supposed to paint up? Like, what am I supposed to do?" And he was just like, "All right, whatever." So I just remember putting like ghost white paint on all my whole damn face, and I had hair out to wherever. So I pulled this shit out everywhere, and we put paint in my hair, and this shit was just sticking everywhere. And I just looked like a ghost white ass fucking Colton Grundy out there, or Solomon Grundy, you know, running around. And I was just out there to just wave my hands and get hype on stage for a fucking couple songs. But so I, you know, it was like times like that. And I came out, like I said, at that point where I was out there with them right after the Great Malenko stuff, right where they were just exploding into, you know what I mean, Jekyll Brothers, where it was fucking humongous, man. Like that tour was so huge, bro. It was like I was out there with them just, you know, running around. And I was, like I said, at the time, I took pride in what we did, man. I took pride in everything. I still do. I take pride in everything we do. And at that point, they had me in charge of some shit like a truck, or, you know, putting things in it, make sure and everything, and making sure the stage is set up every night. And I remember I was costume changing and all types of shit, man. Like we took pride in putting that show on and making sure we gave all of y'all a good show. And that's where I took it from. So I was like, I was already, you know what I mean? I was just trying to figure out ways to make that shit for me the way I would do it, you know what I mean, instead. And not trying to fully bite on everything that they do, because that's what it was, man. They had a lot of cool shit.
Yeah, being in the audience for that first gathering, and then you know you hear the intro, and then you hear the bells for real shit, man. I mean, talk about
stupid.
Ooh, man, I know how I felt whenever I saw it. I can't even imagine how you felt being in the spotlight at that moment.
Oh, I think I blew out my voice within like the first 3 minutes of the songs, like, because I straight up, you know, it's so different. You get out there and you learn these tricks of the trades and stuff before, when things are out there. The first time I was on stage with everybody, we were doing some writers type stuff, and it was a song at like it was the Christmas party. And I remember doing, you know, going up there, and I remember I was straight ice cream coning, because, you know, nobody had told me like, hey man, you got to bring this thing up and you got to speak into the mic and be on. And I, you know what I mean? And I remember Joey coming, you know, Shaggy coming over and be like, hey bro. I was like, and like, so you heard me, it was next level though. It was like, that's the type of stuff I'll never forget. And yeah, so I remember these weird little things that happened. And that taught me things about what, you know, what you don't need to be doing on stage.
I didn't know there was a term for that, the ice cream coning.
No, ice cream coning is when you hold the mic so far down that it looks like an ice cream cone, and you're like, here, you got a loud big ass cone up here. And it's like, usually you hold the mic up on top of the mic, you know what I mean, where you can fucking, you know, like me, I try to pull it here, so you got a finger to the lip, so you're not. And I've had that happen where you smash teeth. I fucking busted a tooth out with a microphone, fucking around, and not ice cream cone. It just, you know what I mean. You're getting hype and you move the wrong way. That bitch, motherfucker, chipped the tooth doing that shit.
Yeah. So I know from that 1999 to like 2001 span, I mean, there were so many projects going on at Psychopathic at the time, but one that I hold close is the original Dark Lotus, Tales from the Lotus Pod. So, I mean, you've kind of gotten your gotten your reps in with the EP and Ridas. How did they like formally ask you to be a part of Lotus, or how did that all?
Man, Lotus went into so many incarnations, it seemed like, before I was involved with it. Like they were already had different. I mean, they had songs that they pre-recorded, different things that they had out that they were, you know, that they weren't called Lotus yet, but they knew them as Lotus. Like everybody else might not have known them as Lotus, but they had at the label, they were like, that's a Lotus track. And then, you know, as stuff went on, I remember we started and we did a couple of songs for Lotus, I think originally, that the first time when they you know, they already told me, they were like, yeah, we want Blaze and Lotus, and it's going to be, you know, Blaze, Twisted, ICP, and we're going to throw Killer in there. And we all went to the studio and we started doing songs. This back when the Lotus pod was in the midst of being fully completed.
Okay.
So it wasn't done yet. They were still building. And so we were back at the disc working again, and all of us were there. And I think we recorded Drunken Ninja Master. And it was just, yeah, that was like the one song that I think we recorded that. And maybe we might have recorded Layaway, which two songs that didn't make it on Lotus as the Lotus songs at all, I don't think. But I think we recorded these two songs, and that was like the beginning. And then I don't know what happened, but it kind of just, it stopped. Everything stopped, and it was like brakes were hitting. And I think maybe a couple weeks were taken, and we pulled back. And then the next time we started back into Lotus, there was somebody else in the studio, and we started rolling. And we were like, okay.
I was going to ask you how that came about, because, you know, what did you think of him being Mars being in the mix for that original Lotus album? Because I mean, like you said, you had already done a track with Killa, and then was it like, was that ever actually discussed, or was it just like, no, this is what's happening?
Yes, in a sense it was and it wasn't. It's like it was discussed. It was like, hey, we're about to do, you know, we're gonna try to do this thing where first it was like, what do you guys think about Mars being in Lotus? And we were like, well, Killa's not in it. That's like, I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't know. We don't know this guy. Why? You know what I mean? That was kind of what I think that was kind of the general thing from the three of us. Like, why? What's going on? Why would we do that? We have Lotus here on the label already. You know what I mean? So no hate on Mars at all. It wasn't hate at all. We were just kind of like, why? Perplexed, like, what the fuck? So anyway, he came in, he was like, we're gonna do some trial songs and see how he sounds, how he fits. So we're like, okay. So we started doing the trial songs, and he did, you know, the couple, I think he did Alibaba and a couple other songs with us, and we started going, and it was like, you know, and we kept going along, and he was still there every day, and he's like, great, he's in. All right, well, so yeah, the album just finished, and that he was in it by then. So that's what happened.
Okay.
And yeah, we finished off the record. And like I said, we not like, there was no hate, didn't have any problems with him. We were in the studio, and like I said, the studio was a different type of atmosphere sometimes, because we started actually getting into the Lotus pod, and we were doing some of this crazy shit we used to talk about all the time, you know, lighting candles and getting dark and getting wild. But we'd also fucking have we were doing this stuff where we were collaborating a lot on musically. And I'm not putting myself in there as the ultimate collaborator, but I know I would watch as, you know, it'd be Monoxide in there adding some drums, and then Jay would get up and add a couple of sounds on the keyboard, and then, you know, somebody else would jump up and do some stuff. And it was a lot of this type of stuff when we were doing Lotus originally, and the first album like that. And then, you know, along with our usual suspects and cast of characters, like Mike Clark and Mike Puel and different people doing stuff. So yeah. It was cool. Like I said, it was cool, but like I said, at the point, I was still green. So to me, they were just bringing another guy in that I didn't know, that probably was doing this for 40 years. And now I got to fucking sit here and fucking make sure that my shit's extra fucking dope, you know. And that's exactly what it was. In my head, I'm like, man, who the fuck, damn it. Like, I know Killer, this is my dog. And we would just fucking write, and our shit would be dope. I know it's dope. But this dude, I'm making sure, like, okay, I don't know. Maybe it's another dude from some other fucking group he trying to, you know, and that's basically what it was. So I was, you know, I guess in a sense it kept me on and writing no matter what, you know, because like Lotus was where I got to do, you know, everything. Like, let me just shine it off and start, you know, shining this shit up, and let's just do it. Yeah. So it was cool.
Yeah, and I know you touched on it a little briefly before, but the whole recording process for Lotus or any collaboration between all the artists at Psychopathic at the time. So, would you just sit in a room or at the studio and then write? You'd be all writing your verses simultaneously, and then what happened at that point?
Whoever gets their shit done, running in the booth, man, just
Okay.
start ready to kick it off. And then, usually, like I said, sometimes so you're either in there or worst case scenario, if you're still writing like I was sometimes, you would grab the headphones and listen to the beat on the headphones and keep writing while somebody's in there spitting. And that's exactly what we do. We just keep spitting. Everybody go in there and keep rolling.
Did y'all help each other out, like with the theme of the song and
We talked about, we
lyrics and stuff?
always think we all came up with the themes usually together, and
Mhm.
sometimes somebody would come in with one the day before. So you didn't know. And some of the instances for like that record, for one of my Headache, and there was another song on there too, Give Me That Blood, were two tracks that are, I think, Twisted just went to the disc. We were over there and we did those songs over there, and we brought them over, and we added those and added everybody else's verses to them. And yeah, so it was like a couple songs like that. We did collaborations like that where it's like, oh well, we brought these two songs and just completely, this is what two Lotus songs that we wanted to add. And yeah.
Okay. Last Lotus question. So you guys performed as a group as the original Lotus with Mars at the
Mm-hmm.
2001 gathering of the Juggalos for the. I don't remember if it was the one and only time. I know it was the first time.
Hmm.
But what was that? How was that different than performing as Blaze or as part of Twisted's ensemble?
I mean, it was way different because I felt like being somebody that knows all the material, I'm out there covering like pretty much 90% or 90% everybody else is out there. So I knew all the material. Everybody, I don't know. I had this photo, whatever it is,
Photographic
sound
memory.
memory type shit, whatever the fuck it is. So I would memorize everybody's shit. So I'm covering them as they're doing their stuff. And then sometimes it was crazy because when Mars was gone, we were kind of expected to like each, we started doing this thing where it was like, hey, sometimes we're over each other, so let's try to cut and just do each other's band member. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, well, Shaggy will get, Jay's fucking backups, and Manase will get Madrox's, and Blaze will get Mars, or Mars vice versa. And then Mars is gone, so Blaze will just get Blaze. So you know what I mean? So it was tough. Thankfully I had Madrox and Monoxide always jumping in and helping out for my stuff. So we ended up getting that. We had a routine set down. So when we were doing our Lotus, and I would just try to help everybody no matter what, because I never knew when somebody's mic would be low or wouldn't work or something was fucked up. So I was always still just doing it anyway.
Right. So
Yeah.
you also performed at this gathering, at the 2001 gathering, and you brought out Anybody Killa. Now I think
Mm-hmm.
before, I think you actually brought him out on the Rock the Dead tour, and he was wearing like just straight silver face paint. This is according
Yes.
to a homie of mine named Ben. He said he was at one of the shows, but
Yes. Yep.
I know you guys had linked up prior to you being a part of Psychopathic, but what
Mm-hmm.
was he just a roadie at the time of the Rock the Dead tour, and kind of like in the similar
No.
that you came on, or what?
No, when he started out with me, I brought him out there as my hype man. Like he was my hype man altogether. Like he was ABK at that point already. That was his name, Anybody Killer. And he wasn't ABK yet, he was Anybody Killer. And he would be out there. And I think the first time he painted that like that was for the video, for the Twisted video. And so, and I think we had a professional at the time that was doing paint, and they were like, hey, we'll take care of something. So I think he stepped in and was like, yeah, let me see what you. So they painted him with this look, but I think we decided to change it and add something else. Like we need to make him look crazy. So I think we added that mask part, half a mask part from Michael Myers mask or something. and he would wear that for the video. And then when we actually went out there, we were still, you know, trying to get his look down to figure out exactly what he was going to look like. And that's what it was. So I think when we went back and we started doing the next stuff, I think it was actually Shaggy. It was like, hey man, let's try something like this. And I think he, you know, the original killer was Shaggy painting it on for him. Like, this is what it, you know, should look like. Let's try this. And that's where, yeah. And then it's just kind of stuck there.
Well, that performance at the 2001 gathering was also the first time, I believe, that we saw you sans pantyhose. So on your head.
Damn, really?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if you, I think you were wearing them for the Rock the Dead tour. So what was the I guess what made you want to change that look up?
It was a move just to change from just album change. Like, I was going for a look which I knew at the beginning, like, scary. Like the original look, the EP look, it started as, you know, at the beginning it started just way different, and then it turned into what it was. And I remember Monoxide's brother, JD, the weed man, at the time, he was like, that is the scariest shit I ever seen. Like, when I would be walking around with this fucking pantyhose on and, you know, minimal paint, and my teeth black is, you know, fucked up, and ears are out, but they're dirty and like fucked up, and hair's just pulled out. It looked, you know, like I didn't give a fuck, and I would rob you and you didn't want to see me in an alley. And that's exactly what it was. So when we went with that, that was the start of it. And then, you know, when we went on to the next record, they were talking about, you know, you had painted before, like out on the road with us before. Why don't you try to do something with some sort of paint? It's like kind of the thing here at Psychopathic, everybody's painting a little bit. So why don't you try some sort of paint? So then I came up with the One Less G look a little bit more. Like, I was like, I thought, to me, a dead body is more, I'm going to be a ghostly white, and you're going to see me sunken in a little bit with some dark areas wherever you see any cracks in my face or lines. And that's what I always kind of pictured more, and sunken in a little on the cheeks. And yeah. And then I always, like I said, my description was dying with a gunshot wound in the head. So it was like, okay, well, automatically I've got to throw a wound and then some blood, and there's where it was, for real.
It's gotta be a lot more comfortable performing with just the paint than the pantyhose on the head for sure.
It is a little bit, because sometimes, like I said, the pantyhose will fucking shove your nose completely sideways, or fuck you. Someone, you're like, yeah, what's going on, man? Yeah. Can't get doing it. You know, it fucks up your speech just a little bit.
So later that year in October, One Less G in the Hood officially drops. You had, you know, classics like Nasty, Juggalo Anthem, Straight Outta Detroit. You know, the whole album's just a banger.
Yeah.
How did you feel like it elevated your career amongst Juggalos and you know, outside of Juggalos?
Man, I'm telling you, it was wild at the time, because like I said, I had no idea how big it was really. You know, I didn't imagine that it was going to be, you know, what it was and what it would lead to any more records. I was just, you know, I was happy to see something come about, because like I said, I was dealing with a lot of different shit in between, struggling in between that shit, like, you know, label issues with having to fucking worry about things, and then with putting that record together was more, you know what I mean, more importantly, was a little bit of struggle too. So yeah, it's like I was happy to have the product out, but I was like, you know what I mean, I was always looking for what's next, but I never knew exactly how to work a record once it dropped. It was like, you know, am I supposed to go out and do a headline? Do I go out and you know, what's next? So I mean, I was always like I said, so green that I'm behind waiting, like I should have had a video for this and a video for that. But it's like, in all honesty, I'm helping. I took the back seat, started helping push with other things for other people at the same time. And then as well as pushing in group stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah, it's like, I think I focused a little less on this record and started focusing on what was next. So yeah, I don't think I really, you know, recognized how people were really receiving it. You know what I mean? Because without some of the stuff that they have now with like YouTube and Facebook and all the extra shit you got now, where people can be on there like, oh, that was my favorite record. I bumped that was the shit. It's like, man, that's a Juggalo classic. It was like, really? Whoa, that was the start of the era. Really? Like, thank you. Whoa, thank y'all, man. That's the shit. Like, much love. And it's fucking, thank y'all for listening. And thank them and everybody else for putting me up and give me a stage to go out and perform on. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it was for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like I said, there's so many classics on there that I think even if you didn't push it as hard as you could have, it just grew organically just because of how fucking fire those tracks were. So no, it had a lot different feel to it than the original EP.
Yeah.
I know Mike P was heavily involved in this album, as
Mm-hmm.
well with a lot of the releases of Psychopathic at the time. Was it a choice for you to go heavy with Mike P versus a full Fritz album at the time?
Well, like I said, I think a lot of the stuff started out as Fritz songs, Fritz tracks, and then were, switched in the end to be replayed, or songs to be played or replayed in the key of Mike P.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, and Fritz will tell you that, like Hood Rats and shit. There's a few fucking tracks on straight out of Detroit, or Saturday Afternoon, I think. I'm sorry, Straight Out of Detroit. He might have did the original for that too. He did a lot of different tracks. Like a lot of the basis of the album started with Fritz, and I think that's what it was. A lot of the stuff was mixed, or some of the stuff was actually replayed by Mike P. So, you know what I mean? And then in the end, it looks like Mike P did full, production and all the work on the record, when really it was like a lot of the, like I said, the bass was set up by, in all honesty, it was Fritz.
Okay.
So it was like, it was a lot of the Fritz record, and then some of the sounds were retooled by Mike, and then that's what it was. So yeah, that's where I think the sound difference is. It's, technically it was just a sound difference because Mike P came in there and he played a different sounding guitar, and a lot of the stuff he did was cool. Like I like it. I'm not hating on it at all. Like, I love a lot of the stuff that he added to it, because he was the first person I see to actual double instruments. Like, I would see him, he would have a bass, and then he would double the bass on another track. And it was cool as fuck. It was like, because these were the beginning kind of times of Pro Tools, and it seemed like he was pretty well mastering that shit.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like, he was very good at it. And, just like Mike Clark, just, like, there's people that got great ears and are very good with that computer. And them two guys are like that. And Fritz is just like that too.
So you never really worked in the studio with Mike, with Mike P. It was mostly you did the full album.
No, I did for sure. I did for sure. Me and Mike P did fucking Juggalo anthem together. Like, that was one of the songs that he was like, yeah, for sure. There's a couple different ones. I think 10 Bodies is a straight up Mike P track.
Okay.
All together. Like, he brought that to me and was like, hey man, do you want this? And I was like, fuck yeah. And yeah, there's a couple like that. So yeah, for sure. Like, Mike P was like in-house engineer type guy too at the time. So he was in there for most everything.
Mm-hmm. So were there any tracks that were scrapped from One Less G for whatever reason that never even made it onto like a later compilation album or a Forgotten Freshness type album or anything like that? Are you still sitting on any?
It's tough. Like I said, there's one track that I'm sitting on that it was in the middle of those two tracks, that era. I think it was in between One Less G and the EP. And I think it might have been the actual EP era. But like I said, it didn't make it on there. So it would have been a One Less G track. And it didn't make it. There's actually two tracks I got from that era.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them is now that I think about it, I keep fucking forgetting. But yeah, I got one track that I know for a fact that me and Killa did, and it was just missing a chorus, and I just never finished it. And we actually had the chorus, and we just never put it on, and I don't know why, but it got lost in the sauce, and it never made it. And there's another track that I did with Twisted way back in the day. It was one of the first songs I did with them, I think, ever, and it's another one of them ones that just never seen the light of day either.
Man, I think that would be,
it's wild.
Yeah,
It's old and it's wild. And I have it somewhere tucked away that we never fucked with or just left it alone.
oh, those would be perfect candidates for a future, forgotten flavor type release, or
Oh
something.
yeah. Graveyard Greats part
Great.
2.
Yeah, exactly.
Part
Yeah,
deuce.
absolutely. Let's do it, man.
For sure.
Um, was there anybody that you reached out to for features for the album that didn't come through for one reason or another? Or did
For
you
the original one,
Yeah.
for One Less G, no, not at all. Like we straight up everything we wanted, we had on there. Everybody wanted. It was a family shit, man. That's where the family kind of it started. In my opinion, we started busting it together. We were all at times in the studio together at that time. Like we were doing Hatchet Execution. Everybody was in there. You know what I mean? It was like there were times like that, and then there were also other songs. And that's what I said. When we were working together, it was a fucking Sunday, and they're doing something in the studio at 4:00. They're gonna call you, and if you don't answer, then you're kind of you're the dick. So you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, it's kind of what it was. And yeah, so I mean, I remember getting bitched out on a fucking on a voicemail for not answering, and I was in the midst of driving up to said studio. You know what I mean? So I'm not answering my phone while I'm driving, so I'm listening to music loud as fuck, like you would be doing in your goddamn car. And that's some other crazy shit happened because of whatever. Anyway, just wild dumb shit.
And this is back in 2001, where cell phones weren't the cell phones we know now. This is flip phone quality shit too. So
no, you got a pager before that. Right. It was like you're getting pages, and they're fucking 911 you. But no, we had the luxury of actually having cell phones. But yeah, it still was the same shit.
Yeah, I feel you. So one thing I noticed on the Psychopathic release of the Deluxe G edition of One Less G is that some of the credits were changed to Power of the Pen. Is that an alias that Madrox came up with, or you came up with, or do you know why that was changed?
I don't know. It's a possibility. Yeah, it's like because I said we were working together on most of that stuff when we were doing things. And like I said, a lot of the misconceptions is everybody else is in there writing all the material, but it was really just me and Madrox. And sometimes it was me, Madrox, and Monoxide. And sometimes it was just me. Yeah. So it's like, that's basically what it is.
Okay. So like I said at the very beginning of the interview, you're performing One Less G somewhat in its entirety with some other shit sprinkled in.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but what do you guys plan for the set?
Oh man, I mean, well, Killer's in the house and Twisted's in the house, so it's gonna be some cool shit like that. We'll have some family just taking it back to what it was like when we were doing things together, and still doing it, and wishing we were able to do this thing on a live set somewhere with y'all, like in instead of just being live in your living room, but actually being live in a fucking venue doing this damn thing.
Right. So in the past virtual concert experiences that Twisted and M&E have put on, they've been pre-recorded sets. Is that how you're doing it this time, or are you going to do a live feed?
We're live feeding.
Okay.
For this shit, because I got to do, I'm doing different things for this as well. Like I'm not doing any pre-recorded video things. Like I have some stuff that I did pre-record visual that you will see within this. I don't want to give up too much shit, Scotty. You're trying to pull it out of me. But yeah, there is some different things. So, but yeah, this because we're doing the VIP experience thing too, and it's gonna be my first time doing that. And I'm like, damn, let's do the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So is it? And again, you've had a couple of experiences doing it with NetFest and with the Fright Fest experience. Is it tough performing with no audience out in front of you?
Very. Because the first couple of times it's like, man, you're trying to like have fun and pretend like, hey, you're here. But as you keep going, you're like, man, I'm saying the same damn joke. I gotta stop it. And so it's wild. It is so different because like, yeah, you have nobody there to feed off of, man. It's like,
Yeah,
you know,
I usually
when
get a
you're out there,
yeah.
you feed off the crowd, you feed off everything that's like the energy that's out there, and I feed off of Juggalos in general, ninjas, whatever. I feed off all them in general. And yeah, when they're hype, that gets me extra hype, and then I blow my voice out faster.
Well, like, yeah, I mean, I know there's certain songs that you expect. I mean, at this point in your 20 plus year career, you expect to pop after you're done with it, or right when it starts, and you don't get that. So I imagine it's a little bit weird for you.
Oh yeah, I mean it's different. Yeah, it's different. It's like, hey, just we're holding out hope that we'll finally be the fuck back out there sometime, within the end of this year or somewhere before later than whatever.
Yeah,
sooner than later is what I meant.
They already announced Astronomicon in August.
Mm-hmm.
I figured that's going to be, if everything goes as planned, that's going to be the first time you're going to have a chance to perform in front of a live audience. Is that something you're really looking forward to, or
for sure?
Given the
for
state
sure, I know it'll be a different experience, because when we're there, we tend to have a lot of fun. I start drinking, you'll see a slightly inebriated Blaze stumbling around and performing songs on karaoke that he probably should never perform, like last year. But but other than that, it's trying to just have fun out there. But I think it'll be a whole different experience again. Just be so hyped just to be out there and doing it.
If you've never seen Blaze live on karaoke doing a Pantera song, man, you're missing out.
Yeah, that was the fun year. I swear, last year I fucked my whole status of karaokeing up. So if I'm doing it again this year, I'm gonna have to bring it back hardcore with something completely different.
Right. Well, so I think we've covered a ton of topics, starting from the beginning of your career all the way through the One Less G era. For those who are, I don't know why you would be, but for those who are on the fence about getting this live stream, what would you tell them about what to expect, and what flavor you're going to bring for their measly $13?
Oh man, it's gonna be the shit. You got to come check it out, because it's like you said, it is some things that you'll probably never see this again unless they make this you have to do forever and ever. You'll never be able to do live shows again. Then that's the only way you'll see this again, because I'm not gonna do another one of these fucking things like this ever again. And it like I said, it's gonna be that. There's some things on there that you will not want to miss. Brand new. Brand new shit that you will not want to miss. You have to see, and you have to check it out on my night. And I'm telling you, it's going to be just like old times with Killer and Twisted in the house. And if you don't know what that's like, then you need to tune in and check it out, because a lot of y'all motherfuckers don't know what it's like, and you weren't there, or you weren't around. You were like, I don't remember. I didn't know that they were friends. I did not even understand that Killer and Blaze one time were like a tag team, and they were on the stage together, and they would slap the shit out of people in the crowd. They don't remember that. Well, this right here is going to remind you. It's going to remind you how we would take a rubber and just slap you in the face with it. And you would grab that rubber and be like, God damn it, I'm taking this home as a souvenir. Nasty motherfucker. For real. I'm nasty. Y'all nasty.
That's right.
No, for real.
So February 5th, 9 p.m. Eastern. I think the easiest way for you to go get your tickets is go to Blaze's website, blazydead1.com. Scroll to the bottom, tickets.
You got to go check forthefamfridays.com. I remember it now.
There you go.
I'm chopping everybody up with the damn information.
And we'll put a link to that on the bottom of this video for sure. Make sure you guys go out and support Blaze, support the whole M&E team. They've got massive flavor for February coming for you. One last thing that you posted about very recently, this or that type of thing. Whataburger or In-N-Out?
Oh man, that's tough. Like I think genuinely I would go to In-N-Out first, but I love Whataburger because they have more variety. That's why. So I go to Whataburger first, when I'm in Texas because that's the spot. Like if I'm out, like if I'm in Vegas, I don't even think they have a Whataburger in Vegas. So you got to get In-N-Out, and that's the only place. But I don't like that In-N-Out doesn't have enough variety. I am not a fan of just a burger, a single and a double, and a fry and whatever. It's got to have some more shit. Even Coney Island doesn't just serve you hot dogs with chili and cheese. They got fucking honeys with chicken and all types of ranch and all types of good shit. They got fries and chili and cheese on them too. And you should try them out. If you don't go to fucking Vegas, if you go to Vegas, you can try them out there because they got one there too. So,
well, I'm gonna have to cut this part of the interview out because I was fully expecting to say Whataburger. So
I'm telling you, I love Whataburger. They're the only ones that give me a free fucking bag. I went there, and the last time I was there was with my dude Dustin. We were there, and I swear they were just like, here, just take them. I swear I took like 6 of those things, and I spread them out to all my family, and none of them live anywhere near a Whataburger, and they're all carrying Whataburger bags.
Hell yeah, representing.
For real, representing like a month. But I've heard a sprinkle of things that Whataburger might be moving out this way because I heard they were bought by somebody else.
They were bought.
Somebody said it on there.
By some company in Chicago. They
see, so then they need to start moving this way, and then it will probably go up in my range over fucking In-N-Out altogether.
Right. All right, Blaze, man, it's been a pleasure and an honor talking to you, brother. I wish you the best of luck on the 5th, and I'll be tuned in watching.
Show.
For those of you guys watching this, forthefamfridays.com, get your tickets, get your merch bundles, and peep it out.
Yeah. Check it out. 20 years, one less G in the hood. Blaze your dad, homie, Scottie D. Down since day one.
Hell yeah. Woo woo.
What?